A 2022 interactive drama horror video game called The Quarry was created by Supermassive Games and released by 2K. 9 teenage counselors are controlled by the player as they battle supernatural beings and hostile campers on their final night at the Hackett's Quarry summer camp. Numerous decisions that players make during the game could have a big impact on the story's plot, relationships, character development, and resolution. Depending on the player's choices, any of the 9 playable characters could live or die. The game has a big ensemble cast that includes Brenda Song, David Arquette, Ted Raimi, Ariel Winter, and Justice Smith. It was envisioned as the spiritual successor to Until Dawn of 2015 and was influenced by teen slasher and monster movies like Friday the 13th and The Thing. For Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, The Quarry was released on June 10, 2022. Upon release, the game garnered largely favorable reviews. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. The video game called The Quarry is a third-person interactive survival horror drama. The goal of the game is for the player to help 9 different youths to make it through the night at the Hackett's Quarry. Different choices the player must make may alter the plot, the relationships between the characters, and character development. By the end of the game, any one of the 9 playable characters could pass away, and each one has between 10 and 12 possible ways to do it. Supermassive anticipated that the game would continue for roughly 10 hours, while early character deaths could cause it to end sooner at around 7 hours. The game's branching storyline results in a variety of possible outcomes, and at the conclusion of a playing, players will receive unique collectible cards to show what happened to each character. The user can use Death Rewind, which enables them to reverse 3 character deaths in each subsequent gameplay, after finishing their first game. The Death Rewind will be available for the player's first playthrough if they pre-order the Deluxe Edition though. In order to advance in the game with the least amount of input, players can eliminate various gameplay components such as button mashing, quicktime events, and pointing and shooting. Local and online multiplayer are available in the game. While in online multiplayer, 7 other participating players can cast votes on important issues, players in local multiplayer can take turns controlling different characters. Only the demo version of The Quarry may be downloaded by players to cast a ballot. The game also has a movie-only option where the player can choose the personalities of various characters before letting the plot unfold. Now let's talk about the plot. Max Brinley and Laura Kearney travel by car at night to Hackett's Quarry, where they have both been employed as summer camp counselors. To avoid colliding with an unknown object, the two veer off the road and they end up in the woods. When a nearby county sheriff approaches their car, he feels uneasy about their predicament. Although he directs them to spend the night in a hotel close to Hackett's Quarry, Laura and Max decide to head to the camp regardless. As soon as they get there, they enter the basement to look into something Laura witnessed, and that's when Max is attacked by a monster. When the sheriff gets there, he calms Laura down and kills the monster in the cellar. 2 months later, 7 camp counselors are getting ready to leave Hackett's Quarry. Jacob wrecks their car because he wants to stay up one more night with his crush Emma, leaving them stranded. Owner of the camp, Chris Hackett, invites them to spend the night locked inside the lodge and promises to come back with assistance the next day. The group chooses to play a game of Truth or Dare and hosts a campfire party instead. Caitlin challenges Emma to kiss Nick, Abby's crush, or Jacob throughout the game. Emma picks Nick, which causes Abby and Jacob to flee. The counselors are followed by Bobby and Jedediah the entire time. Emma comes into a distraught Jacob at the boathouse and offers him to take him swimming in the lake. In the woods, Nick and Abby are reunited, but a monster attacks and bites Nick, prompting Abby to run toward the others while yelling for assistance. While Emma swims to an island in the center of the lake where she is attacked by a similar monster, Jacob hears Abby's screams and rushes into the woods to help her. Abby returns to the fire pit in tears, and Dylan, Caitlin, and Ryan decide to save Nick. After bringing him to the camp lodge to rest, Dylan and Ryan go to the camp's radio hut to call for assistance from outside. Nick's condition deteriorates while the group seeks sanctuary in the pool house, eventually leading to his change into a werewolf. He runs into the woods after changing. When Laura gets there, she lets the group know what happened to her and Max. She reveals that the man who jailed them for 2 months was Chris's brother, Travis Hackett, the sheriff. They learned of a werewolf curse that is spread by bites at this time. Laura reveals that Chris, who infects Max at every full moon, transforms into a werewolf. Ryan unwillingly decides to assist Laura with her quest, hoping to break the curse without killing Chris. The two move in the direction of the Hackett home, where Constance, the matriarch, chastises Travis for failing to defend the family. The family patriarch, Jedediah, is revealed to be the father of Bobby, Chris, and Travis. As they listen in on Constance and Travis's chat, Laura and Ryan discover more about the history of the Hackett family. A brawl breaks out when the Hacketts find them in the act. Chris, a werewolf, attacks Laura and Ryan when there is the disturbance. Travis can tell Laura that Chris's death does not break the curse, depending on who survived the altercation. He explains that Silas Verez, the son of the fortune teller Eliza, who has been utilizing tarot card readings to direct the player's decisions throughout each chapter, is its originator. The Hackett family went to her freak performance 6 years ago, traveling close to the woods. Caleb and Kaylee, Chris's kids, attempted to distract the guards by igniting a fire in an effort to liberate Silas. Once freed, when the sideshow burned down, Silas bit Caleb, who then cursed Chris and Kaylee. To kill Silas and break the curse once and for all, Laura, Ryan and Travis can travel to the location where Laura and Max crashed 2 months ago. When daylight comes, the authorities are at the summer camp. The game's outcome and the public's perspective of the fatalities that took place at the Hackett's Quarry depend on the player's decision, quick time event performances, and diligence in gathering proof and hints. And let's talk about the development of the game. Supermassive Games, a British company, created the Quarry with the intention of creating a spiritual successor to the game Until Dawn. It adheres to established horror movie conventions more rigidly than the Dark Pictures anthology, Supermassive's other horror franchise. It draws extensively from teen slasher and monster movies. While the game is set in present times, the location and the characters have an 80s feel, according to the creative director Will Biles, who cited films like Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th as important inspirations. The Hackett's Quarry neighborhood has a more vintage vibe, and the team was influenced by movies like Deliverance, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Hills Have Eyes. The Thing and Evil Dead were other influences on Supermassive. Biles continued by equating the game to a horror theme park, and stating that the team wants to include horror movie themes from various eras. While the game pays homage to the number of horror movies, the developers use what they learned from crafting Until Dawn to increase players' terror, rather than depending exclusively on jump scares. Supermassive worked with Los Angeles-based production company Digital Domain on the game's motion capture technology, while also assembling a sizable cast of actors and several genre veterans to play the characters in the game. This was done in an effort to recreate the atmosphere of classic horror movies. The crew reportedly created more than 1,000 pages for the game's script, and there are a total of 186 alternative endings according to Biles. Until Dawn was intended to be a solitary experience, but the development team discovered that players preferred to play in small groups and that many people enjoyed watching others play it. In order to cater to those who would like to only watch the game added a movie mode and enhanced the multiplayer features added in early Supermassive titles like Hidden Agenda and the Dark Pictures anthology. The accessibility features were also created to accommodate less serious players who might lack prior gaming experience. The Quarry has a larger target demographic and less of a gaming emphasis than the Dark Pictures anthology. On March 18, 2022, the game's publisher 2K and developer Supermassive officially debuted it. The game was originally intended to be a Stadia exclusive, however it was eventually not released on the platform because Google shelved its intentions for first-party titles in February 2021, as was first reported by Colin Moriarty on his podcast Sacred Symbols in January 2022. On June 10, 2022, the game was made available on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S. The Gorefest option in the movie mode, which contains more graphic visuals than the standard movie mode, is only accessible to players who bought the deluxe version of the game. The Horror History Visual Filter Pack, which enables players to alter the aesthetic of the game by selecting from 3 different visual filters inspired to horror films from various eras and horror filmmaking styles, which would also be included. They would also get extra character outfits, immediate access to the Death Rewind feature, and additional character outfits. And finally, the reception. According to the review aggregator Metacritic, the Quarry earned mixed or average reviews for PlayStation 5 and generally good reviews on Microsoft Windows and Xbox Series X. These games are at their best when they utilize classic horror while also incorporating some modern twists, meta moments and well-timed jokes, according to Destructoid, which also commended the Quarry for its ability to fluctuate between tension, drama, and comedy. Game Informer bemoaned the lack of player freedom, but praised the enthralling storylines and options for their excellence. Game Revolution praised the game's branching story idea, movie mode and graphical quality, but felt that its exploration mode was sluggish and its camera was claustrophobic. Games Radar Plus believed that the game's sluggish start, frequent pace problems, and unnecessarily huge cast of characters were hindrances, but that certain interesting plot points, good voice acting, and attractive graphics helped to attenuate these problems. GameSpot appreciated the game's funny language, ensemble cast, passion for horror films, and the palpable sense of weight behind many choices, but berated the exploration's glacial walking, speed, and the story's pacing flaws. IGN stated, "The Quarry is worth playing at least once, but when compared to Until Dawn, it's one step ahead and one step back. while disliking the lack of player interactions and the absence of quality of life features. The plot, performances and visual fidelity are worth paying attention to, as are some of the shocks, but more than ever much of your involvement seems like protective padding sandwiched between the scripted thrills, according to PC Gamer, who felt that while the title retained the strengths of the developer's previous games, it only showed marks of improvement through its production values. The dynamically branching plotlines, distinctive characters, nods to classic horror and strong scares received high praise from Shacknews, although the fixed camera caused some awkward situations and prevented fast-forwarding on subsequent plays. The Quarry received a rating of 4 out of 5 stars from The Guardian, which stated that the Quarry's clever script and cinematic presentation make it an absorbing horror caper, even if this is, ironically, a game that's often at its best when you're not actively playing it. During its first week of sales, The Quarry was the 4th best-selling retail video game in the UK. PlayStation users made up 84% of the game's debut sales in the UK. And that is the story, and a little bit of a review of The Quarry. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.